Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships. As today we're going to be talking about the new Dockyard Event that just came with update 11.3, as that is the Tier 8 Pan-American battleship, the Atlntico. So here you can see the Tier 9 Marlborough. It was the dockyard for the event ship for the last dockyard we had. But we're going to dive into looking at the dockyard and see a little bit more about what this ship has. Now, unfortunately, I've skipped through the preloading trailer they have, and they give a little brief overview of the Atlntico. So unfortunately, I don't have that. I can't figure out how to pull that back up. So I'm going to read a brief section from the World of Warships website and giving you a little bit more of an overview of the Atlntico before we start talking about overview and advice of getting through the Dockyard event. So the Atlntico is going to be a battleship armed with 10 381mm main battery guns that are placed in 5 twin gun turrets and fire only AP shells. Atlntico's primary feature is her powerful secondary battery guns, along with a long firing range, 10 127mm guns and 16 234mm guns with a normal firing range of 6.5 kilometers. The secondary battery guns are accurate, but they're not that easy to use due to an arcing trajectory. The shells travel slowly. It's harder to attack maneuverable targets with such secondary guns, but at the same time, you can efficiently fire at slower ships and over islands. The 127mm guns have the same accuracy as artillery mounts of German battleships, while the 234mm guns have similar accuracy to the Tier 9 American battleship Georgia and German battle cruisers. While the ship is quite slow for a battleship of her tier, she has a sturdy deck, a citadel with solid armor, and decent overall armor protection against high explosive shells. Okay, so I can throw a picture of the finalized ship up here on the screen. But this ship has gone through a lot of different changes. In testing, I think there's 3 different dev blogs talk about changes made to this ship. So maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the ship in general towards the end of this video. But first, let's just kind of dive in to what's happening here. So right now, World of Warships has a setup where you have 22 phases, 22 phases to get to your final reward, of which you will be granted the Tier 8 Pan-American battleship, the Atlntico. So you're going to be able to accomplish 19 shipbuilding phases by progressing through the dockyard combat missions and obtain valuable rewards. But in terms of completing to be able to get the ship, you are going to have to spend doubloons for the 20th, 21st, and 22nd phase. So minimal purchase, you have to buy 3 of the phases. So Wargaming offers these starter packs. Allow the completion of shipbuilding phases in exchange for doubloons. They're only available at the beginning of the shipbuilding phases, so only up to the 3rd shipbuilding phase are these starter packs available. So let's look at the event rules. This gives us an overview here. The Dockyard event takes you through phases of building a ship and awards you the Tier 8 Atlntico upon completing those phases. Shipbuilding phase completion. The shipbuilding process comprises 22 phases. You can complete 19 shipbuilding phases by progressing through dockyard combat missions, and I'll show you that back in port. Doubloons can be used to instantly complete phases. You can obtain Tier 8 Atlntico only upon completing any 3 phases or more by spending doubloons. If you continue to complete phases by progressing through dockyard combat missions after you have built Tier 8 Atlntico, you will receive 250 steel as a reward for each additional completed phase. So some people just like to blow through the dockyard and being a whale just because you get the steel upon completing those different shipbuilding phases. So you can earn a lot of steel through the event if you whale it, as it were. Starter packs. Purchase starter packs at a discount to obtain rewards and complete the shipbuilding phases required to build the Atlntico. You will not be able to purchase starter packs after completing 3 shipbuilding phases by progressing through dockyard combat missions. You will earn well-deserved rewards. You will obtain a reward for each shipbuilding phase by progressing through the shipbuilding phases. You will also obtain special rewards, Distant Voyager's Container at Phase 5, and 100,000 free XP at phase 14. So let's say you are a whale, okay? So let's say you bought every single phase and you complete all the combat missions. That means you can get up to 4,750 steel if you decide you want to whale for the Atlntico, okay? So that's 250 times 19. So let's look at the starter packs because that's what we're going to be doing here. You have two. The starter packs are only available at the beginning of the shipbuilding process, as we phrased. So this is the minimum number of shipbuilding phases required to obtain Atlntico. Smooth sailing, 3 shipbuilding phases. So instead of it being 5,250 doubloons, it's 3,900 doubloons. So much better and helps you save on your money, of course. And I'm pulling up the mathematics for our other shipbuilding phase here, where you can buy 8 phases. This is the full ahead. So a large number of shipbuilding phases at a discount. Purchasing them reduces the number of dockyard combat missions you need to complete and allows you to obtain the Tier 8 Atlntico faster. Purchasing a starter pack allows you to obtain the rewards for all phases you complete. So this is 8,000 doubloons instead of 14,000 doubloons, okay? I have always, when I've approached the dockyards that I've completed, I always just try to get the shipbuilding phase, the minimal requirement. So 3 is minimally required, so I'm actually going to go ahead and purchase this. And it's going to show you what you start off with. So a day of premium, gift container, and 5 of those camouflages. So we're going to start seeing the ship come together now. I'm not really sure which way is better. So if you want to take away everything on the screen, you just hold the right mouse key. And that helps you kind of see more the ship coming to life. There's some planes slowly flying above. What's nice is it also tells you installation of the main athwart ship bulkheads and installation of the main longitudinal bulkheads. Okay, so we're going to collect the reward, pick that up, and then we'll look at combat missions here in just a minute, but we can see more of what's taking place here with what type of rewards you're going to be earning. So the rewards are nice. It seems like they're spamming the camouflages, the Brazilian camouflages, pretty hardcore. Yes, indeed. And then you typically always get these special signals. There's your 100,000 free experience. Go up a little bit higher. And to more distant voyages container, 10,000 coal, really nice, and 1,000 steel. So even more steel to earn if you decided to whale for the Atlntico, if you got enough doubloons lying around. I could technically buy the next shipbuilding starter pack, but I don't really want to. I want to hold on to my doubloons that I have for now. So that is the overview when we're looking. You can also open the shipbuilding phases. It'll give you a whole list of what in each phase, what they're going to be adding on and building onto the ship. So let's go ahead and exit out. Let's go into look at the combat missions, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the ship as a whole. Let the UI do its thing. So combat missions. Okay, so Dockyard, this is where you're going to find it. You can actually see last night when I played for a good bit last night, so we're actually not too far away in earning some more of the shipbuilding phases. So you have 7 groups, and you can pick and choose which ones you want to earn. The ones starting off are going to be the most easiest, and then it gets a little bit harder as you progress. So let's hop up to 4. You can see that we have a total of 52 days as I record this video on Friday. So by the time you see this video on Monday, was like 49 days, something like that, for you to complete this. But you can see at every so many days, the next grouping of shipbuilding phases unlocks. So as you go up, it can become much more of a grind. We get to the last one here. So it helps you if you kind of pick and choose which ones you want to do. Some of these you're going to have to do because that's the only way you can earn a shipbuilding phase token through completing these. So maybe it revolves more around, I really play destroyers, cruisers, battleships more so than carriers, and those would be the ones you focus more in on as you go along. So just be mindful of check-in here each day when you're hopping on, like what do I need to work on? I mean, this is basics P as a whole. A lot of players, if you're a newer player, you're going to have a very difficult time trying to do the Dockyard event because your completion criteria. So here, it's going to vary. You can see it changes from mission to mission. Like here, you can see we can do it in all the game modes, basically, and even clan battle. Tier 5 through tier 10 ships, and also including super ships. So if you have something tier 4 and below, you're out of luck. You are not going to be able to work with these, complete these combat missions for the Dockyard. Then it starts with aircraft carriers, tier 6 and up. Here you can see the completion criteria changes. So random, ranked, and it'd be hard to earn that much base XP in co-op battle alone by itself. So you just have to be mindful of the completion criteria. If you're a new player who just started playing World of Warships, you might just want to sit this one out and catch it next time around, unless you really want to spend the money to go ahead and pick up the ship in the form of doubloons. So we'll talk a little bit more about that here. So I'll hop back into the Dockyard. I wish I could kind of see what the ship looked like completed, so we can dive in a little bit more to this. But I'm going to talk about the ship a bit more. Maybe some of you are asking, is the ship worth it? Okay, so I can throw maybe a picture up on the screen here. So let's talk about some of the changes that have taken place on the Atlntico as time has gone by. So there has been, that I can recall, 3 changes to the Atlntico through dev blogs and testing. The ship had hydroacoustic search consumable, was removed. This is one of the first. So there might be some things changing from dev blog to dev blog of the same item we're talking about. The AP shell fuse delay, ricochet angles, and arming threshold reduced to standard values. Secondary battery, the accuracy of the 127mm guns were increased to the level of German battleships. The accuracy of the 234mm guns increased to the level of Georgia and German battlecruisers. Ballistics adjusted. All shells have a more arcing trajectory. So previously the trajectory was more linear. With above changes, the ship's secondary battery will see an overall increase in performance with hits on destroyers, with maybe less hits on destroyers due to the slower shells. Improved accuracy will allow to reliably score damage and deal more damage on average to larger targets, even from behind cover, island cover. So that's kind of why they do this arcing. So maybe you are able to hit an enemy ship behind an island as an example. Okay, that was one of the first changes they had. And then they increased the main battery reload time from 28 seconds to 29 seconds. The AP shell damage, maximum damage, was reduced from 11,700 to 10,700. The next change this battleship went through was the parameters of the 234mm secondary battery shells were changed. Maximum damage increased from 3,350 to 3,850. And the armor penetration increased from 39mm to 59mm. And they also buffed the main battery firing range as well. So from 17.4 to 18.6. So something much more closer to the main battery range on a Massachusetts. From what I've seen of the ship, I haven't watched any YouTube videos of the Atlntico in action and what maybe other people are giving their thoughts in on the ship. So this is just kind of my take. I mainly do this video just to give you advice and overview of how to approach through the Dockyard events. But when we look at the picture of the Atlntico, the ship looks rather trolly in a good way. Between the armor scheme, the armor layout, and then also these guns. So maybe actually let's go ahead and go to a website I came across looking at the ship, where you can see a little more of these details more up close and personal. So I'm here on the World of Warships fitting tool. So let's actually dive in with this and see what we can make of the Atlntico. So let's go ahead and throw some upgrades on. We want to go for secondary battery. So that's going to take our secondary armament to 8.97. What is our concealment? So that drops to 12. Okay, 12.8. Nice. So we get to learn things about the ship doing through here. So we're probably looking at something. Okay, when we do the secondaries, how does that get us to? So now we're at a 10.76. Throwing a Mike Yankee. 11.3. Okay, so standard, very similar to the American battleships, right? Pan American. Something like that. That's probably what I would envision the build as. So then we can kind of break down here. So you only get your 2 consumables, your repair party, your standard damage control party. So this is, I mean, when I first saw the ship, when I first heard it talked about, it reminded me of the Massachusetts, but of course it's really different because of the 2 and 34 millimeter guns on the ship. Let's see, what's the pin capacity? 21 millimeter and 59 millimeter. What happens if you pick up IFHE? Okay, so if you pick up IFHE, then you can actually pin the 26 millimeter plating. Okay, what's our turret traverse without grease the gears? Okay, 180 degree turn time of 30 seconds actually is not bad. So then you could pick up IFHE, and then you would get your 26 millimeter penetration, but then you start seeing more 32 millimeter. So this is kind of what I would see as a standard build for Atlntico. So it is good to see that they have some good range for the secondary battery, as that's nice. The reload time for the 127, 5 seconds, and for 2 and 34, yeah, 10-second reload time. With secondary guns that large, there has to be a bit of a slower reload time with that 2 and 34 millimeter gun. So yeah, so that's going to wrap this video up and looking at the Atlntico. Is this a ship I'd recommend? Well, if you have the doubloons, just do at least the first three phases, and you have the you can match the completion criteria if you are a player who's been playing World of Warships for a bit, you know, playing the tier 5, tier 10 ships. To do the combat missions, then yeah, I'd recommend definitely go for the Atlntico. Just have to pace yourself well with the combat missions as they come available. You can get the ship until the beginning of update 11.5, where you can no longer pick the Atlntico up at the start of 11.5. So you have all of 11.3 and all of 11.4. If you're a brand new player who just started playing World of Warships, then maybe I recommend you to pass versus trying to go for the Atlntico right now. Because you're going to have a really hard time doing the combat missions. And then even what I can tell you to whale, not really. I don't recommend whaling for doubloons to pick up the dockyard ships. Unless you have the financial resources to do so, then sure. But I mean, there's a lot of good ships that you can pick up in World of Warships, even in the tech tree to a certain extent. The Massachusetts, which usually comes available every Black Friday sale, Massachusetts B, it's a very good ship to pick up. But let's see how Atlntico handles. So I'll eventually be doing a video on Atlntico and playing her. I know there's other people on YouTube who already have videos up, so you can check them out and get a better idea of what you think of the Atlntico. So until next time, take care.